Yes, good evening, folks. Welcome back to the channel. It's starting 11 prediction time once again for tomorrow's game against St Mirren at Celtic Park. We're obviously looking to bounce back after that disappointing 0-0 at Easter Road at the weekend. Coming off the back, what a contrast coming off the back of that game against Atletico, where we played so well. Almost looked like there was like a mental drop and a physical drop for the players. Just didn't get going at all at any point in the game. A lot of players who were really effective against Atletico were just nowhere to be seen, really. Their energy levels, their attacking output were just really, really poor across the pitch, and it had that feeling in a game that was just going to drift past. And as we covered in the full-time reaction, we didn't really start playing until there's 15 minutes left, and it looks like the team have finally realised we're running out of time. But if they took the game by the scruff of the neck a bit earlier, played at higher intensity, moved the ball forward quicker, I think if we'd done that early in the game, we'd probably have managed to get the goal to give us a victory. But I think the team, generally speaking, have done really well with their away games. That's the only away game we've dropped points in, so it is disappointing, but it's a difficult start we've had with all of those, going to all of those away venues, the toughest away games in the country, really. 5-point gap at the top, but we don't want that sort of slower tempo to seep back in, because we thought we'd get rid of that from the early part of the season. The first few games, we're really starting to ramp up there, so we've got to get back on it tomorrow. We're really looking for the team to respond to dropping points, and having that gap close for 7-5. We're going to respond tomorrow, put on a good performance, and it'll be a tough game against St Mirren. This video is sponsored by William Hill. We've teamed up with Celtic's official betting partner for the rest of this season. We'll be giving away some great prizes and the starting 11 predictions coming up. You have to be subscribed to take part, so make sure to stay tuned to be in with a chance of winning. Hopefully we'll have a prize for you very, very soon. I know I mentioned that before, but we need to dot the I's and cross the T's and make sure we've done everything properly before we get to the prizes. So they are coming. In terms of a score prediction for tomorrow, I'm going to go 3-0 to Celtic. That is 11-2. If you want to check out the match odds, you can click the link in the description, and that will take you there. As always, please gamble responsibly and visit begambleaware.org. Now, St Mirren came into this game sitting third in the table, 3 points behind Rangers with a game in hand. Very good start to the season. Stephen Robinson has done a brilliant job since he arrived there. In our games against them last season, obviously they beat us the first game, which was off the back of a Champions League game away to Shakhtar, that 2-0 game, where we actually had the opposite problem that we had on Saturday, where we didn't make enough changes on Saturday. That game last season under Ange, we made too many and St Mirren beat us. Then we had 3 good victories against them and then the 2-2 draw in the split. So there's no doubt they'll make it hard for us. Even the games, I think the rest of the games, there's 2 5-1s in there. I remember the game in the Scottish Cup particularly, where the game was tight going into the last 10 minutes, and then we ended up running away with it with a flurry of late goals. But they will make it difficult for us. We know they're well organised, and we'll need to be right at it tomorrow. And as I say, we need to play with that intensity, get in the front foot, attack for the first whistle, and really get back to those games where we've seen the fast starts against Atletico, against Lazio, and also at Tynecastle as well. Want to get back to that intensity and hopefully get a good win tomorrow. So we'll get to the team, and we'll start, as we always do, with the goalkeeper, because where else would you start a starting 11? Joe Hart will obviously play there. Back four, I'm going unchanged again. Johnston, I think, will be back. It was only, I think he just got the ball blasted against his face, and he went off, probably just precautionary. I think Brendan Rodgers said he's okay. I think we need him. Ralston coming on, you could see the difference trying to progress further up the pitch. I think Carter Vickers and Scales will stay as the pair at centre half. Greg Taylor at left back. I think everybody on Saturday was off it. They were obviously feeling the effects, I think, of the game, be it physically or mentally. Some of them mentally, some of them physically. Even the likes of Carter Vickers, I thought, slack on the ball a couple of times. We just weren't as effective as we've been recently, but I don't think there'll be any changes in defence. In midfield, Callum McGregor, Matt O'Reilly, and I'm actually going to put David Turnbull in. Now, the big problem for this Celtic squad and the big problem for Brendan Rodgers is that we've seen on Saturday there is no real depth of quality in it. Brendan Rodgers clearly doesn't trust a lot of the players that are in the squad. A lot of the summer signings, if you go through the list of summer signings, and we feared this at the time, and I know we're only a couple of months into the season, but these guys get a chance to show the manager what they can do every single day on the training pitch. And if they're not at the stage 2 or 3 months in to their Celtic career where Brendan Rodgers can't trust them to bring them on as a sub in a game, I think that tells you everything about where their level's at. The likes of Yang, who's had starts, who's had plenty of game time, can't get off the bench now. In a game like Saturday where we're chasing a goal, Mikey Johnston comes in ahead of him, he's barely kicked a ball for Celtic for the best part of 3 years. I think that tells you everything you need to know about where Yang's at. The likes of Kwon is just a total write-off because he can't even make squads. We haven't seen him play a competitive minute, I don't think, for Celtic, so that will tell you everything you need to know there. Brendan Rodgers already confirmed Tillio is struggling to get to the level. Odin Thiago Holm has been injured. He has shown signs of promise. He's been injured and he's back available now. I don't think he'll be thrust back into the starting lineup in this game. The likes of Awata, jury's still out on him. I think there's so many of these signings and these squad players that don't have the quality that Brendan Rodgers feels confident in them to put them into the team. I think that's why we only made 3 subs against Atletico Madrid as well. And obviously we don't turn to the likes of Mikey Johnston and Yang against Atletico Madrid. And again, that's because in a big game like that, as a manager in a position where he can trust them to do a job, he's not. It was almost a Hail Mary to throw somebody like Mikey Johnston on at the weekend who hasn't kicked a ball for Celtic for 3 or 4 years, and just hope that he turns it around in a game when you're chasing something, having played so little football. That tells you where the depth is in the squad. And I know that the jury is still out in Turnbull for a lot of people, but I think Bernardo wasn't quite as effective at the weekend, and I think a home game against St Mirren is a good opportunity for David Turnbull to come in. We know he can do a job in these games, and I think he might just get the nod ahead of Bernardo. But across the team, I can't even see a case to put in some of these players that have been on the bench recently, and that's why I'm going for no changes in the front three. I think Maeda will be in the right, Palma will be on the left, and Kyogo through the middle. I can't make a case for Yang to start instead of Palma. I know Palma is really, really poor at the weekend, and I know that Mikey Johnston produced more in terms of getting by his man. He produced a decent save for David Marshall as well late in the game, more than Palma managed in 60 or 70 minutes. But I just can't make a case for any of these guys getting a start. Dyson Maeda as well, really poor on Saturday. But again, do you put James Forrest in, who again at this stage of his career, I don't think we should be relying upon him. He's come back in from the cold as well. Think about how little football he played last season. He had his testimonial at the start of the season as well. And with the return of Brendan Rodgers, he seems to be featuring a bit more than he was under Ange Postecoglou. But he's at a stage of his career where he shouldn't be the guy that we're turning to, James Forrest. And again, it just gets at the lack of depth and the lack of quality deep into this Celtic squad. And I think we've got a big job to do in January in terms of clearing out a lot of the deadwood that's there. Guys I've mentioned already, the likes of James McCarthy, again, never seen. Kobayashi, again, who's not a look in under Brendan Rodgers. He was injured at the start of the season, but Brendan Rodgers has basically already said he would have left in the summer if he wasn't injured. We need to clear all these guys out. We need to trim the squad, and we need to get the manager 2 or 3 players of the quality that he feels can impact this first 11, because yes, we're in a good position, 5 points clear. We've navigated most of these difficult away games domestically, but it's plain as a nose in your face that we need better players in the squad. We cannot rely on the same 11 players, particularly the front 6, that midfield 3, that front 3. We can't rely on those 6 players throughout a whole campaign. That will come back to bite us. You could argue it already has early in the season with the exit for the League Cup, in terms of having new players that weren't ready, they weren't at the level. And we can't go through if we lost O'Reilly or Kyogo to injury, we would be in a bad state. Anyhow, there you go. That's 11 I think Brendan Rodgers will go with tomorrow. You can disagree with me. in the comments below. How many changes do you think there'll be? Do you think, have you seen a case to make 2, 3, 4 changes based on what we've seen from the guys off the bench and in the squad recently? Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be back tomorrow outside Celtic Park with the full-time reaction. As always, see you then. Thank you.